Welcome, everybody, to Dave Cooper Live, where we showcase the people, the products, and the processes, all building it better. And today is no different. Today, we're going to discuss structural insulated panels and how they are gaining popularity in the construction industry due to all of their benefits. We will explore the advantages of using structural insulated panels in building projects and how they save you time, labor, and money. We're also going to discuss the flexibility of SIPA panels because they are used on floors, walls, and roofs. Oh, did I mention retrofitting as well? We have the one, the only, the person that knows everything about them, the executive director of SIPA on the show today, Jack Armstrong. But before we bring him on, we need to hear a word from our sponsors. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory, optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Howick Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for off-site modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, howickltd.com. Brought to you by Greatech, one of the largest Autodesk partners globally and software developer of the PowerPack Advanced Design, Advanced Steel, and the StruxSoft product line. The complete solution to automate wood and light gauge steel framing, design, and documentation all the way out to CNC output. Model, design, and manufacture with StruxSoft. Learn more at struxsoftsolutions.com. Jack Armstrong, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am doing great. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Yeah, well, you know what? This is exciting. One, I always love when I come across you and Mr. Rashkin and all the building science that you guys love to talk about at all the different shows, and that's coming up. And we're going to get into some of those shows and where to find you in just a little bit. But before we do that, Jack, it's been a while since we've had you on the Dave Cooper Live show. Why don't you give everybody a little bit of an update on who you are, where you're from, what you've been doing? Basically everything. We want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this moment in time. Don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will call somebody in your family. Maybe we'll have your 91-year-old dad on, and I'm sure he will not hold back from telling us everything. But
Big Jack will not hold back. You got Big Jack and Little Jack.
No, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. No, Jack Armstrong, chemical engineer by training, born in Oklahoma on a cattle ranch with about 1,000 head of Angus cattle and about 1,000 acres and 3 tomboy sisters older than I. We all had our own horses. But chemical engineer by training, graduated University of Texas in Austin, spent about 24 years with BASF, the chemical company, big raw material supplier. Got a great chance to work in all different phases of polymers and plastics and paints and adhesives, and down in South America and Brazil in South American countries for a while, and then spent a couple of years over in Belgium and Brussels in our polyurethanes headquarters, and then came all the way back to Jersey, to North America, to our U.S. headquarters, and spent a number of years there in the expandable polystyrene neopore insulating foam business, and did some marketing and advertising. And then in 2013, kind of set out on my own with my own little consulting company and started leading the Structural Insulated Panel Association, so SIPA. And so, gosh, it's like 10 years now, because started in 2013 and we're already in 2023. So where's the time go?
Yeah, right. I mean, listen, 10 years, it's hard to even believe, right? Time does fly by fast, and the industry is growing so fast. How has the industry grown in the 10 years that you've been at the realm of SIPA?
You know, it's been really fabulous. I think we're kind of in this sweet spot. There was the craziness, from the 2008 kind of meltdown, and a lot of things changed. But what was really cool starting back in that time frame was we started with the new code cycles. So, we had the 2006 and the 2009 International Energy Conservation Code. And that was really when people started thinking, oh, there's a thing called air leakage and blower door tests. And rolled it in 2012 and 2015, and all of a sudden continuous insulation. And, 2018, now we're in 2021 with a near zero energy code. So it's really been a good ride. And then, of course, crazy lack of employment and workers out there.
Right.
People are thinking, off-site, how can I do this faster? Can we use a panel to do this instead of 2x4s and 2x6s?
And are you seeing that happen? Are you seeing the industry shift, in a big way or a little way? What are you seeing?
It's incremental change. People hate change, right? You get everything all lined out just like you normally are doing. And so if it's not, struggling to get your trades to do something new, the electricians and the plumbers, working with the framers to tilt up whole wall panels and roofing panels. So everybody resists change, but I think we've seen more than ever just the willingness for people to accept something different. And now that, as I mentioned, the individual states are having to adopt these newer codes and rolling it in. And now, of course, you have the onflow of carbon and low energy and net zero energy. And so people are just, smoke coming in my house because there's a forest fire next door. People want good indoor air quality, the COVID thing. So we're really, I think, starting to see kind of like, what I like to call the perfect storm in a good way.
Sure.
For people to adopt new building methods.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about SIPA and using the insulated panels, and give us some of the pluses, minuses. And I know you have a presentation as well, and maybe that covers it. But
yeah, I have a little bit of show and tell, some slides so people can see some pictures in action of what's going on with SIPs. But by and large, the idea is if it takes maybe 7 layers to do a building envelope wall assembly versus being able to do the same thing in 3 layers. I mean, that's a lot of time, headache, labor savings, risk of, is my supply chain going to get it here in time? I think everybody really learned a lot during COVID of just, even a refrigerator takes 9 months to get sometimes now.
Right.
So anything you can do to kind of simplify that process flow, in addition to getting performance. Because in the old days, SIPA has been around since 1990. Mm-hmm. So it's a collection of structural insulated panel manufacturers, about 22-ish of them in North America are members of SIPA right now, spread all across the country in North America and some in Canada. And essentially, it's an organization about kind of training, education, quality control, and marketing. And so about 80% of the 18 million square feet of panels that are made with SIPs are made by SIPA members. So it's really a dominant force in the industry. And it's kind of just, that kind of trusted third-party go-to of, well, I want to do something new. I'm not sure if I want to ask the guy that's trying to sell it to me. Why don't I go to a neutral third-party trade association that has ASTM standards and ANSI standards and learn from there?
Yeah, and a big part of your job is the education, and is getting the education out to the general population, as I like to say, to help spread the word. And you guys are really big in building science, and that's one of the things we'll talk about at the end of the show. I mean, when you guys do your presentations and you're up on stage, there is a lot of building science behind the SIPA product and the insulated panel walls, and actually how that works. And you alluded to it just a few moments ago with air tightness and, better insulation values, better air quality, all that fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to learn more about that as well.
Well, Dave, you mentioned just then, it kind of got me thinking, a builder is all about, you're cranking out these units, right?
Yeah.
But it's also about risk mitigation. And as we've started to make buildings tighter and more energy efficient, it's changed all the little Achilles heels of where problems used to happen, and moisture management.
Right.
And so, gosh, now it's not only just moisture management, but you got to worry about air management and, HRVs and ERVs and mechanical insulation and making sure you don't oversize the air conditioner so you can dehumidify properly. So the building science piece is really a lot of it, but also certainly it's about, peace of mind. It's about health. It's about the most expensive investment you're ever going to make, being a good one. and not being kind of functionally obsolete in 3 years when the building code changes, and it would be like illegal to build this house in 3 years because it doesn't perform to the new building standards. So partially, our mission is just to make people feel comfortable with change. But certainly, in the building construction world, I mean, many of the builders are kind of a GC, right? So they are really relying on the electrician and the plumber and the framer and the HVAC guy and gal to come in and make this whole assembly work as a system. And that's probably where we've seen most of the issues over the years of maybe sometimes people get themselves into a little bit of trouble because they just do it the old way, but they have this new high performance building envelope. And it's like, oh, building science is important.
You mean I just can't open my window, Jack? This is ridiculous. I don't understand. I'm right.
Well, when you live in Southern Florida along the Gulf Coast, and there's that balmy, sultry air that's like ickier outside than it is inside, or the bugs come in, or the forest fire smoke comes in. So, most people, allergy season, right?
I always say to people, I use the analogy of a glass of ice water and inside your nice air conditioned house. And then you go sit on the back deck where it's 85, 90 degrees. What does that glass of ice water do? It sweats. Right. And it causes a big puddle on the table. And this is how to me, one of the better ways of explaining what happens between the inside of an air conditioned house, somewhere in that wall, and that hot air on the outside. That same process is meeting up somewhere where the cold and the heat. And that's where we try and get into the thermal breaks and stop that type of stuff from happening. So super cool. Quick question on SIPs. Are you guys just residential, or do you also have commercial applications?
Perfect question. It's about a 60-40 split. Yeah. So I'd say about 60% is residential, about 40% is commercial. And we say commercial, so we're building out of wood, so it's type 5 construction. So you can go up to about 3 or 4 stories when you're doing multifamily apartment buildings and things like that. A lot of restaurants, a lot of strip centers, a lot of churches, a lot of schools, specifically out in the Pacific Northwest, where they have, beautiful exposed wood and beams and things like that. So, I would say predominantly it's in the housing world, it's anywhere from, small, quick to put up Habitat for Humanity, 1,000 square foot, 1,200 square foot slab on grade, all the way up to custom built homes. And traditionally, in the old days, a SIP wall used to be a Cadillac wall. It used to be more expensive. And you'd save energy and it would pay back over time. But now, since the building codes post, 2015 and onward have gotten so much tougher, really a SIP wall is like a code, it surpasses code minimum, but it's not expensive anymore. By the time you think, well, all those joints you used to have to seal together in the old ways, and continuous insulation, wrapping it around, having large panels that you can fly in and have the doors and windows already cut out and have to seal fewer joints really has made it easier and faster. So even in the residential world, it's much easier. And also you do things like the house is so thermally efficient, upstairs and downstairs are the same temperature. You don't have to have 2 zones. So just complexity and things like that get reduced as well when you have a really nice thermal envelope.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I remember when a 3,000 square foot house needed like 6 tons of air, 3 up, 3 down. Now, they're doing a 3,000 square foot with half of that, if even less than that now, based on the performance of the home. Well, perfect. Why don't we hop into your presentation here and take us down the journey of what you do.
Sure. So the whole point of this is to say, well, gosh, if you've never even seen a SIP, a structural insulated panel, what's one look like? Well, here's a quick little photo. Imagine like an Oreo cookie or an ice cream sandwich. So you have on the wafers on the outside, you have a facer technology. 90% over the market now is oriented strand board, OSB. And then you have that solid, rigid, expandable polystyrene foam core in the middle, or it could be a polyurethane foam core, are the traditional ones. So structural facers, usually 7/16 OSB on each side, glued and adhered to like a continuous kind of Velcro bond. And you don't have the studs in the middle of the wall to carry the load. The skins actually carry the load. And, what can you use them for? Well, you can use them for walls. You can use them for roofs. You can use them over trusses. You can use them with, insulated concrete form walls, stem walls, basement walls, any kind of hybrid construction. So it's wood. So anywhere you can build with wood, you can build with a SIP. So here's some pictures where you can see large panels kind of flying in there. So you can see the speed of being able to put 600 or 800 square feet per day of panel up. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, is it doesn't have to just be for new construction. It can be for renovation. It can be for add-on. Here was a home, 1872. This was actually entered in one of our Building Excellence Awards, which we do every year. And they actually lifted the entire house and then skinned it with SIPs and put in a basement. But, it had a great HERS energy efficiency rating of 47 pre-drywall. So that's really amazing. I mean, the sweet spot for SIPs, if you're a builder that is trying to build high performance homes, HERS rating less than say 50 or near zero energy or zero energy ready, I mean, the SIP envelope's like a no-brainer for you. But it doesn't have to be something that you're trying to do high performance. It can be sustainable, energy efficient, and for things like Habitat for Humanity, the folks are able to put them all together in groups very easily. Right. Katrina down in New Orleans, after some of the flooding there, stilts, even after some of the hurricanes in Key West, you can just put these homes up on stilts, have a nice SIP floor. Mm-hmm. So you have an insulated flooring system. And one thing I like to always say is, a SIP wall is probably twice as strong as conventional construction, because in conventional construction, you only have a stud like every 16 inches or even 24 inches, if you're advanced framing. So with SIPs, you have a continuous bond. So it'd be the same surface area as if you were building out of 2x10s. So if you can imagine 2x10s, 16 inches on center, that's a lot of surface area to support. So that's why SIP walls are so much stronger than conventional construction. They're approved for the Florida high velocity hurricane zones, 200 miles an hour, no problem. You could do some cool things with SIPs. You see some curved roofs. They're a little more expensive to do a curved roof, but if you really aesthetically are trying to achieve something, you certainly can. If you're timber framing, SIPs and the Timber Framers Guild go really well. In fact, most of the first manufacturers of structural insulated panels back in the 70s and 80s were actually timber framers, and they kind of just forward integrated to come up with a wall enclosure system that fit really well. This is kind of a great home, HERS 32, 0.37 air changes per hour. So that's passive level house standards, 0.6 air changes per hour. So anyway, but people say, oh, Jack, I don't want it to be all boxy and modern. I want it to look cool. Well, hey, if you can build it out of wood, you can build it out of SIPs. So craftsman designs, passive designs. And here's where you really get into the speed element of SIPs. You can have what we call jumbo panels. So up to 24 feet long, up to 8 feet wide, and you can just fly those in there, have a ridge beam on the top. You don't have to have support beams when you're in certain spans, depending on your snow loads and things. You can engineer all that in. You can even have I-beams or I-joists installed as the connection technology to add a little more strength and resilience. And essentially, they come preloaded on a truck. You will have sent your drawings in, your shop drawings, about 2 or 3 months before the job needs to be ready and delivered. They'll do all the window cutouts, door cutouts. There's conduits that are running the wall for pulling cable or pulling cable when you get there. And essentially, you just tilt them up, and there's a great seal between each of the panels, along with the spline technology to hold them together. So whether it's a simple design or a super complex design, you kind of follow the numbers of the panels, put them together. And so yeah, that's, I won't go into we can always come back to some of the resources on the website, but but this is kind of hopefully the pictures put it in context of whether it's 1 story, 2 stories, can be a school.
So a lot of questions here, just more verification, right? One, you said that the exterior sheathing or the skin is the structure of the unit because you don't have the studs and the insulation's not carrying the weight, but because that exterior sheathing is applied to that's where the rigidity and the strength comes in, right?
Exactly right. The skins carry the load, and that's why we're super kind of anal about making sure both skins touch the foundation, because you need that skin technology. So imagine it's a continuous seal. It's almost like 2 layers of Velcro. If you've had 2 little pieces of Velcro, you can pull them apart. But if you have those big sheets, or you go to those amusement parks where you put on the Velcro suit and you jump against the wall and you get stuck on the wall, that's how strong this stuff is.
I don't know what kind of clubs you hang out in, Jack, but I haven't seen. No, I'm just kidding. I've seen. Perfect. I'm in. So I think that's really cool. But something else that I thought was really interesting is you said that these are the MEPs, or at least the chases for the MEPs for the wiring and the conduits already in the wall. So you don't have to hot knife the insulation and make cuts. It's already there.
Yeah. So through the foam at kind of switch height level, as well as plug level, there are horizontal chases, usually inch and a half chases already drilled through. And then usually every 4 feet vertically, there's a vertical chase. And they're marked on the outside of the OSB. So imagine the electrician used to come and drill through every 2x4 to be able to pull in his cavity wall, or her to pull through the cavity wall that. Mm-hmm. Now they're already there. So in our time and motion RS mean studies, we've shown that it takes less time to electrically run cable through a SIP house than it does a traditional home because of that. And also, cavity walls are problematic. When you have air moving in the cavity wall, when you have bugs moving in the cavity wall, when you have smoke and chimney effects in the cavity wall. So SIP walls are filled, they're rigid. You don't have to worry about any kind of migration through that cavity wall. So, if there's a roof leak, it's not going to compress your fiberglass bat insulation or your cellulose insulation and mold and not be able to dry it out and stuff like that.
So if I'm eliminating all the studs in a house, I got to put insulation in my house regardless.
Yeah.
Right. I'm getting the insulation. I'm getting the exterior and interior. Well, the interior sheathing, but it's structural. I don't need trusses. I just need a ridge beam is what I'm hearing. Right. So I'm eliminating.
And depending on the spans and also the levels and the snow loads. But so there's the flexibility. If you needed to add those trusses in, you could.
Right, but you don't have to,
or the I-joists.
Per engineering, based on what zone you live in, right?
Yeah.
So, to me, it just seems like this should be so much less than traditional site building.
Let's think about it. With a 6.5-inch SIP wall, you can cover every climate zone in North America,
right?
With no continuous insulation. Yeah. And with about a 10.25 roof, you can cover also every roofing climate zone. You may not need all that, but just to kind of throw a number out there. So you can prescriptively comply, or you can apply with the overall heat transfer UA value route to the code compliance. And that's where most people do it. There's a little bit of framing on the edges, obviously, where the joints are. So when we talk about how much wood is in the wall, they use this thing called framing factor. So typical 2x4 walls, 24, 25% framing factor, meaning 25% of the walls filled with solid wood and no place for insulation.
Yeah.
And that's where those thermal bridges come through, because, wood's like an insulation value of 1 per inch. Right. Well, the foam is 4 per inch insulation. So anyway, you can, with the SIPs are in the 2 to 5% framing factor range. That's why these walls perform so much better, because you just get more insulation.
Talk to me about the connection points. How do you tie them together, and how do they bond structurally so there's not a weak point at the joint?
Yeah, so the joints come together, and so where you have 2 SIP panels coming together, you have the skins. The foam's kind of relieved, typically about 1.5 inches on each panel. So as they come together, typically there's what's called a surface spline, and so it just goes in between the 2 panels. You have a surface spline that overlaps it 1.5 inches on each side. And that's where the fasteners go in to actually hold the 2 panels together. When you put them up, you tilt them up over a toe plate on the bottom, and there's typically a cap plate on the top. Okay. So that's kind of the construction technology. And depending on point loads or whatever, if you had a couple of levels above you, you could actually put solid lumber if you needed to. We try to avoid a 4x4 or 4x6, just because that's a thermal bridge. But if you need it, you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? I mean, you're tying the floor and the next floor up into plates on top, just like we do any
So
other.
you have a continuous load path. You can
Yeah.
do your shear walls. These systems are engineered also for all seismic zones. So if you're out west, no problem. You can get your seismic D, E, and F. Or I know now it's not even just out west. Sometimes with
Right.
like in the Pennsylvania area, I think
Sure.
you guys even have some seismic zones.
Yeah, and let's talk about moisture resistance, bugs, all of that stuff.
Yeah, so the panels will dry out. We've done FEMA studies where they've shown you can flood the panel and dry it out and do it for multiple cycles. It dries out completely. It maintains its integrity over 96 or 7% of the strength value.
Okay.
So that's all there. So if you were in a flood situation, you strip off the drywall, hose out the mud, get the critters out of the house, let it dry out,
Right.
and then you just have to rip out the insulation behind the OSB. Many of the OSBs also and foams, you can come with additives.
Okay.
A borate treatment technology that keeps the termites out, keeps the fungal out, keeps the bugs from wanting to eat it. So in general, not a problem. It's regular grade or it's a SIPA grade OSB, but I mean, it's exposure resistant, so it can sit outside uncovered while you're building. Obviously, you want to get it dried in as quickly as possible and put your moisture barriers over it so it can dry out. But
Sure.
It's pretty straightforward stuff. Not complicated. It's just getting over that fear of trying something new. I always recommend don't put any pipes in the exterior walls. Water pipes don't belong in an exterior wall.
Right.
Eventually the power is going to go out. You're going to get some freezing. So we try to put those up through the partition walls or interior walls, or if you need one, just fur out and have that pipe, but not in your exterior wall.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. What is the exterior sheathing? 1/2 inch, 5/8?
Usually it's 7/16.
7/16.
People can go up to 19/32 if you need more load. Some people actually build, if you're going to build basements, you can actually build basements with marine grade plywood.
Okay.
Also, if you have good drainage systems around. You can vary the skin technologies. There's even opportunities for metal skin sips as well as cementitious skin sips, whether it's, an MGO or a hardy plank or something like that.
Right.
But those are kind of boutique offerings. That's not kind of mainstream.
Not the mainstream.
It's available.
So let's go to Florida. Let's go to the islands, wherever, hurricanes. Yeah. What are you anchoring into when you're putting your wind straps on the exterior? Is it strong enough just to go into the exterior ply?
Typically you have special hold downs and you have, Simpson strong tie kind of anchor engineering points
and all that
inside the wall. So kind of like you would on a traditional
all right.
So you got your structural engineer and he'll specify those out. As I mentioned, we have the high velocity hurricane zone approvals for Florida. So you can meet your Miami-Dade counties, your 200-mile-an-hour wind zones, issues like that. So not an issue. It's wood construction. So what you can do with regular wood, you can do with SIPs.
Is anybody going to full panels with windows already installed? Anything like that? Yep.
The modular industry is starting to kind of do things like that. There are some of the SIP manufacturers that have played around with that.
Okay.
But by and large, you're starting to really get into kind of finished wall technologies then. And most of the SIP manufacturers aren't lined out to, wait for the window package to come in and pre-install those. And also you're shipping these panels out, they're coming on a flatbed truck. So traditionally for the speed of construction, that's usually left to the builder. It's hard enough for him to just want to believe in getting a wall system delivered with the perfectly cut out, CNC cut equipment for the doors and windows. Right. And that's one of the things. You're going to save trim time. You're going to save window install time, door jamb install time, because these are all precision cut. But some members do offer what they call a ready to assemble package, an RTA package. Okay. So you'll have the wooden inserts already installed, window bucks and door jambs and stuff.
Oh, interesting. Got it. So you can actually have some of the builders will actually put the prep work in for the window installation should they know the specification of the window.
Exactly.
I love it. I love that. That is cool. What if I have a customer, because we know none of these customer exists, that say, yeah, but I really want to put a window there. Can I still
You
do
can just, it's a wooden wall, so you can, take out the chainsaw, sawzall, and you can move a window, you can cut and move things. Obviously you need to work with your structural engineer and your SIP manufacturer to do that. But if mama decides she needs that window over 6 inches,
right?
Mama needs what mama wants, right?
That's it.
And so you can actually reposition things, and also in retrofit.
Yeah. And so this system is floor, walls, and roof. So it is a full system. So do most people get floor, walls, and roof when they do a SIP build?
It really depends. Most is slab on grade, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people that build over garages have, a bonus room over a garage, oftentimes, because that's always an uncomfortable room, and it's almost impossible to seal properly unless you're maybe doing spray foam.
Right.
With bat and blown installations, it's never really a good solution over a bonus room. But also people that build up on, those helical screw foundations and lake houses, things where you're kind of trying to build above the water level.
Yeah.
It's very common to have a SIP floor system there too.
Got it.
And you can do the radiant heating and all that kind of jazz in it.
Yeah. And are they all rated? So is the thickness of the SIPA panels always the same? Or
no, it's variable. So, especially for roofs, you can, go, it's incremental. So 4.5, 6.5, and then you get into the 8.25, 10.25, 12.25, probably neighborhood. Maybe a passive house I've seen as high as 18.
Okay. Yeah. It's 18. Very cool.
But usually you don't really need that.
Yeah.
Think of it.
What am I missing, Jack? What haven't I asked you? I'm trying to get to all.
Let me just go back to that slide deck, and I'll show some of the resources, because there are questions. So most importantly, there's a lot of videos. There's a building education with SIPs training program. We call it the BEST program, BEST training, BEST, building education with SIPs training. And, so go to sips.org, www.sips.org. Yeah. And there's this free online training. There's also, if you're an architect and you want to get your continuing education credit classes done, these are all AIA certified, health, safety, welfare. So over 7.5 hours of AIA training. If you don't want to come to our website and see them, you can go to our YouTube channel. But we also have a great building science guide written by Building Science Corporation and Joe Stebrick. So all kinds of great resources there. And then we just finished a series called Building with SIPs Need to Know. So it's like an overview document. Okay. And then we did a deep dive in each of these chapters of the PDF of, okay, well, what does it mean when you say high performance? Or what does it mean to say design with HVAC? Or what does it mean that I have to do like my panel drawings or site logistics, or I need to do plumbing? Glad you asked. We have a little PDF chart for that, or booklet for that. And so kind of summing it up, structural insulated panels are kind of your easiest route, your less layers. Don't do in 7 layers what you can do in 3. If you need an energy efficient, high performance code wall system, SIPs are your friend. Check them out. You can meet or exceed, your code requirements, and even more advanced codes. One of the architects, we had our board meeting in December last week, and one of the architects who sits on my board said, Jack, I designed a house for the 2018 code in Colorado, and because of COVID, they just put it on the shelf. And then they came back, and since they wound up adopting in that region a 2021 code, and he's like, it still worked. I didn't have to change anything. The base design was still good. So when we say, SIPs save you time, labor, and money, and you just live better, it's install. It's not just the homeowner saving money on their electric bill. It really, lives better, feels better, and you can, feel appraised better. Sure. So that really is kind of the spiel. Hit the web YouTube channel. 22 companies, a bunch of distributors out there. You can see them all at sips.org. Right. Most importantly, you can go to that website, and there's probably over 900 projects. Sort of through.
Something we haven't hit on yet that has dawned on me, being a past builder of 20 years, is I don't have to worry about my lumber showing up. My lumber sitting in the rain. I don't have to worry about getting a whole load of 2x6s or 2x10s, and 30 of them are bowed to no end and back. I mean, when I really start thinking about just the time management of managing, ordering trusses, lumber, sheathing, flooring, all of those different things, it's not just the ease on site. There's a whole management piece that's behind this that kind of just dawned on me. I'm just sitting there, what a headache those things are, right?
You're buying it and then you're throwing away the scrap, right? And you're paying
it, right?
Less than, if you had 3 tilt-up containers that you got to haul to the landfill, you can have like 2 wheelbarrows full of cutoffs.
Yeah. That show's coming. Jerry McCaughey and I, we're going to do our own show. It's going to be called Dumpster Diving with Jerry and Dave. And then Ben Hershey was going to sit outside with his accountant hat on, and we're just going to keep throwing out the lumber that was cut off, something brand new that you paid for, and add it all up, right?
All of those little places, and the complexity. You don't need soffit vents. You don't need ridge vents. You don't need, you can put if you're trying to do a zero energy ready home or whatever, your HVAC is already in conditioned space under the envelope. Right. So all these little things. So we have a great cost calculator on our line online in our resources page. You can see some Excel spreadsheets comparing each line item of where you save. We even launched a microsite called SIPS.truecost.org. Just SIPS, SIPS, truecost.org. And it steps you through, and you can kind of say, I don't believe you, Jack. Put your numbers in, compare, and then.
Jack, just my suggestion, you should have SIP wall next to stick, build wall, and then just have a list of all the things you need to stick build a wall, all the things you need for SIP. And I bet the stick build wall is going to be like that long, and the SIP, right? I mean, like visually.
That's exactly right. And that's what this Excel spreadsheet does. It's kind of you can download the one pager from our resources, or you can go to the little website, SIPS.truecost.org, and see a filled out one. But it's like, I don't have to do ridge vents. I don't have to do open wall code inspections and wait for the code guy to come and do my open wall cavity inspection. How many times are you waiting around for the code inspector to come? So, if you can tilt up and frame in and dry in 6 to 8 days versus 30 days,
right?
What's an extra 20 days worth to you for carrying costs and just headaches of idle time on site? The porta potty that you got to pay an extra 2 weeks for, right?
That's it, right? $100, $200, whatever it costs. All right, Jack, where can people find you coming up? Let's pull up your page here. You got some great events happening.
Oh, that's right. I mean, this is perfectly timing because we're going to be at the EBA conference, the Energy and Efficient Building Alliance conference, out the second week of October in Salt Lake City, Utah. So Sam Rashkin, former chief architect from the Department of Energy, and I are going to be doing a talk there. Then that's kind of that October 9, 10, 11. And then just the very next week, if you want to go East Coast, you can go to the Building Systems Council, NEHB's Building Systems Council in Washington, D.C., Monday, Tuesday, November 16th and 17th of October. So if you didn't get enough of us in Salt Lake, you can have a repeat in D.C. Dave, you're going to be there too, I think, right?
I should be. I better be there. They're going to be mad at me. I'm the master of ceremony. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I better show up.
And of course, those that can't make that, go to Vegas at International Building Show at the end of February. We'll probably have like 2 or 3 booths there throughout the show floor. Right. We'll be in the Learning Lounge. So 3 days of continuous education going on in the Learning Lounge the last couple of days of February out in Vegas. Got to get your gambling fix in.
Well, you know what? And keep me informed on that. We had the privilege of being invited to be one of the, if not the main person covering IBS this year on social media in partnership with the National Association of Home Builders. So
kudos, high five.
We're going to be able to be doing some cool stuff that we haven't been able to do before. Usually we got the press pass and all that, but this year I think we get to bring everybody not only to our own audience, but also to all the members of the NAHB as well. So it's going to be fun.
I'll be rooting for you. I'll like you and give you a star or whatever we do nowadays in social media.
That's it. Hey, whatever you want to do. I know you like us. We're good. All right. So
this has been fabulous. Thanks for the chance to talk to your, millions of people out there that follow Dave Cooper Live. Always enjoy seeing your programs, and thanks for giving a platform for people to share great information.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I love what I do, and I love all the different things I just learned today. I know we've talked about this in the past, but I just linked some more of my synapses, whatever they call those things in your brain together. And I'm going, oh my gosh, there's outside of just the building side of what you have, there is a whole administrative savings that happens and time happen.
Back office.
Stealing on site. I mean, I can go on and on and on, how
do your callbacks. I mean, you don't get those crazy nail pops from the bad lumber, even sheetrock problems with SIPs, continuous surface. Can hang a picture anywhere. You don't need to look for a stud.
I'm sold. All right.
I'll send the truck over to your house. You can start building tomorrow, David.
That's right. We'll live stream the whole thing. Everybody can watch how cool and great it is. Jack, thank you, man. Appreciate you joining us today. Don't go anywhere out there. The rest of you, enjoy the rest of this week. We are going to be all week at IWBCC in Washington, D.C. So we're going to bring you some more live coverage from the IWBCC. So stay tuned. And for those of you that are just tuning in on this Wednesday, guess what? It's Wednesday. We still got a couple more days to build it better. So get out there, get to doing, and only use the best of the best. Jack Armstrong is a good person to follow up with as well if you're interested in his product. Jack, thank you.
My pleasure. Always a fan.
Stay right there. I'll come back to you after the outro. Bye, everybody. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.